how have you been able to do? Have you been able to do any creative stuff? You know, any kind of wrestling related stuff, or otherwise in this pandemic that's kept you motivated?
I think, like, to start with, obviously I was meant to be going to WrestleMania, so
Oh wow!
as you can imagine, kind of lost a little bit of love for wrestling for a little bit, for all of it.
Yeah,
And then my plan was I was gonna obviously start doing my content every single week. Had all these plans, and then obviously I had to go back to work. And it's, you know, it's been, for me, I think during this whole thing, it's been very, very hard to keep motivated with the wrestling stuff. You know, it's I think it's quite hard for me to watch it without the crowds.
yeah.
It's all right, obviously, having, you know, they've got the extras on it now, but it's hard. I think it's a lot harder. So yeah, I think it has been like a bit of a struggle, and I've kind of always said, oh yeah, I'm gonna go back and do this. But when I do kind of come back properly, I've got some quite big plans coming up, so hopefully it's gonna be a little bit different.
That's exciting. What I mean, obviously, you can't necessarily tell us all the plans, but what a little bit about what you've got coming up.
Yeah, so the plan going forward is obviously I'll be working a lot more with Turnbuckle TV, so we're working with those guys a little bit more, and then obviously I do videos for kind of other people, but my channel itself is going to expand into, obviously I love the wrestling stuff, but then I love gaming as well.
Nice.
Never kind of thought it was going to be a route I'd go down, but it's kind of my plan at the minute is going to kind of do a bit of both, do a bit of vlogging as well. So I've been kind of, this week actually, I've been kind of planning what's next, to kind of make a little bit of a, you know, a comeback after a couple of months away, pretty much.
That's exciting. It sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Gaming stuff. So I guess what got you into, we'll do wrestling first and then we'll talk about gaming as well. Tell me about where your passion for wrestling started. You know, obviously you probably, when you were a kid, you probably didn't imagine you'd be a wrestling YouTuber or a wrestling blogger or broadcaster. So where did that initial love for wrestling happen?
Well, I was 7, so I was pretty young when I first started kind of watching it. And then obviously where I'm from, and you know, being female, it's not the most common thing that everybody's kind of into. So I didn't, obviously when I was younger, I watched it, but I was quite secretive about it, because I didn't want, you know, I wanted to be cool, and you know, that kind of thing, and I wanted to kind of fit in a little bit. And then kind of as I've got older, you know, it's developed more and more, and I've kind of realised, you know what, this is something that I really enjoy speaking about, and you know, I absolutely adore. So it kind of, the reason I kind of started everything is because, you know, my family and my friends, they don't want to listen about wrestling. They don't really care. So I kind of just started doing it so I could actually just talk to other people about it. Didn't know if anything was going to come off it, but I just thought, oh, do you know what? At least I can talk to people. And kind of, you know, give my opinion on things, and yeah, it kind of just went from there, and I've just kind of grown a bit, pretty much.
Absolutely. And has there ever been, so give me like your, I guess, through your history as a wrestling fan, what's kind of captivated you? Has there been a certain sort of feud? Because obviously you've talked on your channel about your favourite wrestlers and different things like that, but what about a favourite feud that you'll always remember, that you'll if you have to kind of justify, which you shouldn't have to do, but if you have to justify you being a wrestling fan, is there a feud or a match or a few matches that you point people to that you love and will always love?
I think, do you know what, there's like, back in the day, I loved the feuds between like Edge and Undertaker.
Yeah.
I'd say for me, they're, you know, when I do think of feuds and I think of what made me, you know, love it, those feuds of those two were massive. And obviously, don't get me wrong, I love John Cena so much, but you know, there was a lot of different feuds, like even, you know, with like Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair, and so many incredible feuds that, you know, I could name. But yeah, I'd reckon probably Edge and Undertaker's are the ones that spark the most for me, because it was just insane, really.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's a classic. There's a classic. Obviously, you've said that today you're not watching too much because obviously you've kind of
Yeah.
fallen out of love with it. But is there a superstar today that you are kind of we'll say enamored with in terms of the gimmick or in terms of the way they put it across on screen? Is there anybody that's really from a male or female perspective, any superstars that are really kind of grasping you at the minute and really,
Yeah.
really inspiring you?
Well, if I'm honest, I still watch it. It's been hard recently, but I still kind of know what's going on. There's so many, I think, that are absolutely just incredible. There's like Io Shirai at the minute. She is probably one of my absolute favourites, and I think she's incredible.
Yeah.
Female wise, like Sonya Deville, what she's kind of been doing recently as well, that's been incredible. And who else could I say?
I mean,
Do you know who else? Randy Orton.
Oh, there you go, Randy Orton.
He is just. I have so many words about him as it is, but at the minute, he's just an absolutely incredible human. But he always has been. He's just. I think he's probably one of my favourite heels ever. You can't go wrong with him. For me, he's someone I could never get bored of as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people sort of are a bit down on his in-ring style and say that it is boring. But if you look at his promo work,
that's what I mean. I don't think his stuff in the ring, kind of gets a bit samey, if you get what I mean. But what he does, I love the Randy Orton that does care, but then at the same time, I love the not caring Randy Orton. When he goes on social media and says whatever, whatever he wants to, and he, stirs the pot. And I just, as soon as he brings out that real hillside, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, an incredible performer, and obviously you've said one of the greatest heels for you. Who's on your kind of Mount Rushmore then of wrestling performers? I believe there's 5 spots open on that kind of thing. So if you could come up with 5 sort of key performers throughout your history as a fan, throughout your sort of time watching, have you got like 5 people that you would put on that kind of Mount Rushmore on that, on that platform and say these guys or these people because they, including wrestlers from all different backgrounds, whatever. Which performers would you say are the best of all time?
Do you know what I think at the moment with the current roster? There's no one at the minute really that obviously really jumps out. But if I had to pick anybody ever, obviously John Cena's on there. There is no doubt about that one. Randy Orton, definitely. Victoria, for me.
Nice.
Yep, she's one of my absolute heroes. Rey Mysterio.
Fantastic.
And probably Edge. Yeah.
Yeah. When he came to the Rumble, that was one of the...
Oh, I cried so much. I was just like, oh my God, it was incredible. I think that Rumble, to start with, I was worried. I thought, oh no, what is this turning out to be? And this, I don't know if you have watched any of my stuff, and I'm not the biggest fan of Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
But there was something about that Rumble that kind of made me feel a bit different about him, and I just thought, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be as funny, but it was, and it's probably one of my favourite Rumbles ever as well.
I enjoyed the way he sold Keith Lee as well. That was great.
I'm not the biggest fan of him, but he did absolutely kill it in the Rumble, and I was impressed.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I've not necessarily always been the biggest fan, but that Rumble was very entertaining. Absolutely,
it was.
Absolutely. So, as an extension of that, then obviously we talk about wrestlers and in ring competitors. What about entertainers in terms of, I guess, across the board? So you're talking across commentary, across various platforms. Who would you say the kind of best? Who are your favorite entertainers in a wrestling context? People that can make you like cry with a promo, in a match, or people that can make you kind of so excited you're about to burst, kind of thing.
think.
It's a bit of an off-kilter question, but yeah.
Do you know what I would say? Triple H.
Nice.
I think he has just. I think he's just become such a, well, he's always been a great guy, but like the last few years, he's incredible. He's an incredible man. Like Triple H is absolutely wonderful. Who else would I say? Do you know who I do really, really like, and I miss her quite a lot? I really miss Lilian Garcia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's someone that I've always really looked up to as well. Even like when I was younger, I really looked up to her. I thought she was really cool.
Yeah, she's done incredible. She's got a great podcast as well.
Yeah, she because I obviously, like I was saying about Victoria, I listened to hers, and I listened to like Candice Michelle and people like that, and there's so much you didn't know, and yeah, Lilian Garcia, she's absolutely incredible. I don't know who else I can even think of, entertainer wise.
Oh, there's a good few examples there for sure.
Yeah.
Some good ones. You haven't talked so much about AEW so far on your channel. You've been doing more about WWE. Obviously, in terms of future plans, will you be doing AEW content, and to sort of be a bit more balanced in our sort of talking and our conversation? What do you think of AEW and some of your favourites from AEW at the moment?
Do you know what I think? I think it shouldn't have, when I first obviously heard about AEW, I was worried because I think I've been so loyal to WWE for so long. I was thinking, I felt like I was kind of like going behind their back kind of thing. Right. But do you know what they've, obviously I will be doing more content for them. I've got a lot kind of planned for those guys in a minute. I wanted to kind of give them a little bit more of a chance before, obviously I've got some opinions, and I wanted to give them a chance before I said anything. What they've kind of managed to do so far and how well it has done so far is incredible. Like, they've got some amazing people on that roster, like absolutely amazing people. And there's been some matches as well, like the tag team match with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. That was probably one of my favourite tag team matches I've ever seen, I'd say.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely incredible. And they've got some big stars over there, and I praise like Jericho all the time, that he's gone from the WWE guy to the AEW, and it's like a different person, and he's got even better, and you didn't think that was possible.
Absolutely.
He's a genius. He's an absolute genius, that man.
Yeah, it's absolute genius for sure. In terms of you kind of, because you referenced Randy Orton as a heel, where would you put MJF versus Randy Orton in terms of who's the better heel? Obviously, you can't necessarily compete right now in terms of legacy, but do you think MJF is up there with Randy?
He is. I've always said this. He I think how he acts online and how he does come across, I think he's great. Like, there's a lot of times where people break their characters, and he's just someone that doesn't. It's like he's always in that character. And I think he's a very, very talented person. I think for me personally, I prefer him as kind of the entertainer, kind of promo guy rather than in ring. He's good in the ring, but for me, I like him more personally than obviously being a competitor. But I reckon he will really put it up there with heel wise, big time.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have any kind of favourites that are kind of coming out of AEW at the moment? Obviously, they have a great kind of young roster of talent. Obviously, there's been some criticism that they're bringing in a lot of WWE guys or ex-WWE. Yeah. But who do you think is up and coming on that roster, and who are you a big fan of in terms of people who are up and coming on the AEW roster?
Do you know, I really, really like Jungle Boy. I've always been quite a big fan of him anyway. I love like the tag team, absolutely love him. But Jungle Boy, yeah, he's talented. and I reckon he could go really, really far. I also think, I think Sonny Kiss as well.
Amazing, yeah, fantastic.
Really, really incredible. I think the one criticism that I've been saying about, obviously about AEW for a little while is that their women's division needs, I don't know, it needs some kind of guidance. Mm-hmm. They've got some incredible people in that roster, like really good, and they're not using it to its full potential. Maybe it's because, it's a bit new and obviously we're going through like a pandemic, but, I hope they kind of in the future change it a bit and use the females a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that I mean, I agree with that. I think that it's probably the best. Well, it has potential to be one of the best female rosters.
Yeah,
I think Impact has probably the best female roster at the moment. But there's obviously loads of potential for AEW, which is fantastic. Do you have a kind of a dream? So some dream feuds, for example, across companies. Who would you put in dream feuds? Say, for example, MJF versus Randy Orton would be a good example. Or have you got sort of all time? Give me a couple of examples of dream feuds from across the ages as well. You can go across the ages.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to just say.
At the minute, obviously, unfortunately, I think kind of Tessa Blanchard's going through.
Yes.
But her versus Charlotte Flair would be something that I'd pay a lot of money to see. Yeah. They're probably two people that I, really do admire because they're hardworking, they're incredible. That's one feud that I would love so much. Like ridiculously amounts I'd love. Who else feud-wise? I think there's so many different people that I think I'd like to see. I don't know.
I was thinking, one of mine would have been probably like from back in the day, like Darby Allin, but versus Mankind.
Wow!
Foley in the 90s. Like early Mankind versus like modern day Darby Allin, something like that. Or like,
Do you know what I would like to see? I would like to see Finn versus Darby Allin.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, imagine that. That would be incredible.
Yeah, it would. Absolutely. Oh. Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be amazing. Just trying to think of there's so many routes you could go down.
Yeah.
I would put Randy Orton and MJF together. That'd be another one.
That would be something. There's even who else would I put? Oh, there's so many incredible talents out there.
Of course, there's so many. I was thinking like Rosemary from Impact would be really cool as well in WWE. I'm trying to think against maybe China from back in the day.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's someone like that. I think they could have a really good dynamic.
But then even saying that, I've always wanted I've always wanted that big feud between Beth Phoenix and Charlotte Flair.
Of course, yeah.
I've always wanted that. That is one thing I've wanted.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be incredible as well.
Especially after Beth Phoenix's kind of the Royal Rumble, how she was in that was absolutely unreal. Yeah,
that Beth can still go, which is it's exciting for sure. I mean, it's exciting time for. Well, I mean, it certainly was before the lockdown. Obviously, a lot of people are excited to see how wrestling continues during the lockdown and post. Obviously, a touchy subject at the moment is British wrestling. Obviously, as a fan based in the UK, what are your hopes and goals for British wrestling in the wake of the speaking out movement?
Yeah.
A lot of things are being discussed and opened up, and a lot of things are being changed and developed.
Yeah. I think it's the situation obviously is absolutely horrific, and everyone that's come out has been so brave, and I can't support people enough, and I think it's been such a wake up call for everyone. Like in the Brit Rest, like I did a podcast yesterday, and I kind of got asked the same kind of thing, and they were Canadians, and they just said kind of how has it kind of affected us, us guys over here, and it's I'm hoping that going forward you know, the change is going to be really good, and people are going to feel safe, and they're not going to, you know, be worried about going to these things. And, you know, the people that have kind of gone, you know, the people that have managed to speak out and have been that brave can kind of, you know, go back to enjoying being in these places, you know, again. And yeah, so hopefully going forward, people do feel safer, and, you know, they feel like they can enjoy it again, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's a, you know, it's a very challenging time, but as per usual, we see some very inspirational and motivational people in the scene
Yeah.
doing doing good work. For you, you know, I think obviously you've done very well for yourself as a broadcaster slash YouTuber in the wrestling scene. You've obviously, you know, sharing your opinions and stuff. And I want to ask you, you know, for anybody that kind of looks up to you and your kind of your channel, and also your obviously your various platforms to talk about wrestling, what kind of key tips would you give to any young person or anybody that is inspired by your work on how to make a success of it and make a good go of it as you've been able to do?
Do you know what I would say? There's two sides that I think of it. Don't listen to the hate comments, I would say. Obviously, as you know, as a female that, you know, does YouTube about wrestling, you know, it can be hard. It can be really tough. Like I've had some horrendous comments on my videos, on videos that I do for other people. You can't let it get to you at all. I'm quite thick-skinned, luckily, so I kind of just take it. But you've just got to keep going, and just think outside the box. That's kind of what, you know, it's been hard where everything's been going on. It's, you know, there's been times where I've just been exhausted and I just think, oh, you know what, I just need a bit of time away. But, you know, you have just got to keep going for it. And if you really want to do something, then you've got to make it, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. And obviously, you know, I think that, so the next question is how important, you know, is image in kind of the industry we're in terms of making, obviously in wrestling, but also as a YouTuber, as a broadcast personality, you have a very cool image about you, but also, more importantly, some very good and well thought out opinions on wrestling. How important would you say realistically, because I think it's important for people to know, is having a strong image? You know, your image is part of your logo. It is there. Tattoos are really cool and stuff like that. How important is image, but also, yeah, in terms of kind of getting, you know, being able to get a message out there and a brand? Because you very much, I think that's very much what I'm trying to say, is that you've managed to create a brand out of a very strong image. And how important is that really?
There's always going to be people that aren't going to like it.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, that happens all the time. But I've wanted to kind of stick to me, you know. I didn't want to be anyone that I'm not. And if I'm honest, wrestling is a completely different, like, I'm not say completely different, but it brings out the real me, if that makes sense, you know, because obviously I do the modelling and I do all that side of it. But the wrestling just takes everything out, and that's my happy place, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Rather than, you know, with kind of like the image stuff, and people say to me all the time, oh, like, how could you like that kind of thing? You're not someone that would usually like it. Like, you know, I got told that yesterday. Well, you're not really the type of kind of girl we would have thought that would be into it.
Right.
But I think if you enjoy something, then you go for it, you know.
Absolutely, I absolutely agree with that, and I'm sorry that those comments still get made. I mean, do you think
of course.
Do you think that that's something that will change? Obviously, being realistic, because again, there are going to be young women and young people from various backgrounds and abilities that want to get into YouTube and want to, you know, that are going to be facing, you know, this type of these types of comments that you're talking about and this type of scrutiny. Do you think it's going to change in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, or do you think it's something particularly within, you know, with wrestling and people that want to be YouTubers, broadcasters in wrestling? Do you think that that's always going to be there, these kind of negative comments and connotations?
Do you know what? As much as I'd love it to change, I don't think it will. You know, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. It doesn't matter kind of what you do. There's always going to be some kind of hater out there. It's always going to be the way, you know, you get film stars or you get athletes, they get comments all the time. It's unfortunately, there's always going to be someone that doesn't like what you're doing.
Yeah.
So when it's something that, if someone doesn't like something I do, or someone doesn't want me to do it, I'm probably going to do it more. That's my issue. Right. I kind of fight back, but in a nice way, but I fight back and do it more because I don't ever want people stopping me doing what I want to do.
Absolutely, which is a great attitude.
Yeah.
A few more questions then. Obviously, you know, outside of wrestling, you know, what kind of stuff inspires you? Obviously, you have some really cool tattoos. What inspired them? Are you into music? Like, what kind of stuff do you love? Obviously, you talked about gaming earlier.
Yeah.
So, some of the things you love outside of wrestling, things that motivate you.
Obviously, yeah, I love my tattoos. If I'm honest, tattoos kind of gave me a lot of confidence.
Right.
When I was younger, I wasn't as confident as I am now. Like, I used to be very, very, very shy, which is quite surprising. People usually say, I don't think you were. But I used to be very, very shy, and kind of the tattoos and kind of the way I look now brought out a massive confidence and kind of made me come out as being not different, but, you know, enjoying things that probably not a lot of girls would like, you know, like the gaming and the wrestling and, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, my image is a little bit different to some people, of course. But yeah, I'd say, do you know what? I love anything TV related. I love films. I love TV. I watch a lot of documentaries, and I'll absolutely just watch so many things on Netflix. I can't even explain it. And yeah, I do a little bit of gaming here and there. It's kind of like my relaxing place, if it makes sense, like after I've worked or something. Yeah, I'd say I listen to a bit of music. Obviously just kind of on my travels, I'd say.
Okay. Have you got like a couple of favourite artists you listen to at the moment? Sorry to put you on the spot. That always puts people on the spot.
That doesn't bother me. It's fine. See, I'm not. Do you know what? I'm not really massively into bands. I would have liked to have been, but I've never been someone that's been crazy into bands. But I like, you know, I follow a bit of chart music, but I do like quite some girly things, and then I like some completely different. I like a lot of kind of like reggae and that kind of side. I've such a mixture of songs, like in my playlist, such a mixture. It can go from, you know, like listening to grime to Little Mix. Nice. Complete opposites.
Nice. Do you have a song that gets you out of bed in the morning, gets you up, gets you motivated? A song that you'll always go to for motivation?
Do you know what? This makes everyone laugh. I am possibly the biggest Sean Paul fan out there.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Like the biggest Sean Paul fan. And if I'm ever in a bad mood, that's my go-to. Ever.
Always good. Yeah, just good pop music to get you in the mood. For
yeah,
sure.
Do you know what? I went to a festival a couple of years ago. Everyone laughs at this because it's ridiculous. I went to a festival a couple of years ago, and the only reason I really wanted to go there is because he was going to be there. And, you know, I've grown up listening to his music, and I've always loved him. And as soon as he comes out, I just cried. I was at a festival with my friends, and I cried. I was a mess. And everyone just looked at me, just like, what are you doing? Why are you crying? And I was so emotional because it's someone I've wanted to see for so long.
Yeah.
And everyone just laughed at me.
No, that's amazing. It's a cool story, man. I think it's wicked when you can have a kind of musical connection with an artist that way.
Yeah.
Wicked. Before we talk about the gaming, and before we finish off, obviously you did mention how your tattoos gave you confidence, and I think it would be not to ask about the meanings behind them. Do they have any specific meaning, or do they just they're there because obviously again were they there to give you that confidence? Is it as pure and simple as that?
Yeah, do you know what I like? I like quite unusual tattoos. Like obviously one side of my arm I've got quite a girly theme. Like I've got like mermaids, and I've got like girl pirates, and I've got turtles and giraffes and stuff, and then the other side I've got a scary clown and an eye.
Nice.
So I really like horror. I love like horror characters, big like massive fan. And so kind of my left arm is going to be very like horror related, quite just I like unusual things. I like unusual tattoos, and obviously like my chest piece is a little bit unusual. And yeah, I just like things that are quite different.
Yeah, so is it kind of very horror? Obviously you've got the juxtaposition there of the horror and the kind of girly stuff. Is that something that you try and embody a little bit? Because again, you know, you're all about kind of certainly from what you've been talking about, you know, a lot of the stuff you get asked, you'll be like, oh well, you know, you shouldn't like this, or we didn't think you would like this kind of thing. So it seems like there's a nice juxtaposition between the way people think you should be, or the way people think you would be, and what you actually are into, which is the kind of horror and the, you know.
Yeah, see, I like girly things. Like I love unicorns. Like I really love unicorns. So
Yeah.
I can love unicorns, and then next minute, like, you know, I'm getting a tattoo of like Freddy Krueger or something. You know, I'm very, very mixed. So I can be very, very girly, and then I can be, you know, into my full on gaming mode, or my full on horror mode. So I think with my tattoos, it's kind of, it really does represent me, if I'm honest, because they're so different.
Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. Favorite horror film of all time?
Oh, favorite horror of all time. Do you know what? I do love the Halloween films. Like, really love the Halloween films.
Yeah, the Halloween films are. Did you like the Rob Zombie remakes?
I did, yeah. And did you have you seen that they're doing another one as well?
Are they? No, I've heard about it, but I didn't know when it was coming out. I think it got
next year.
Yeah, it got pushed back, didn't it? So.
Yes. Obviously, they did one last year. Now another one's coming as well. So I'm really excited about that, because I absolutely just love all those kind of things.
Absolutely.
I'm scared of them. I'm scared to death of them.
Man, me too. It's like anybody shows me a horror film, I'll jump like 50 feet. Do you know what I mean?
I think I was saying to somebody yesterday that, you know, I love like the horror films now for me, you know, with all the, like, I can't really, you know, like Insidious and Sinister and things like that. I think I prefer more of the older, you know, like the older horror, like the, you know, the Jason X's, the Chuckies and that kind of thing. I prefer all them than the newer stuff. Apart from, you know what, the one film obviously I did really, really enjoy is It. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
And
remake as well,
yeah, do you know, the remake was really, really good. But yeah, I've always kind of preferred like the older. I just love a character, I think, and, you know, it's all right having, you know, all the like paranormal activity kind of things and all the like ghosty things and all the, you know, the twists and things like that. But there is nothing better than a big character. Nothing better.
Absolutely, I love that. I've been thinking about doing a channel where we do like versus battles between like horror icons. You know, like Chucky versus Gizmo from you know, like Gremlins or something like that. You know what I mean? Like having like a battle where you could sort of talk it out. You know, sort of talk out who would win in a fight between the two of us.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
I think that's going to be a thing.
That's really cool.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, quickly, because you mentioned games. You mentioned you're going to be doing more stuff, games on your channel. So what games are you into, and what kind of what kind of games do you love at the moment? And I guess through your history of loving games.
Do you know what? When I was younger, like when I'd say, ever since I was really young, I've obviously really enjoyed games, and I used to really be into playing quite a lot. And then obviously I reckon I got more into the wrestling kind of stuff. Yeah. And then obviously now I've kind of become a teenager, and I reckon when I was at college, because I was studying media at college, and so I was doing a little bit of gaming, we were doing a bit of this, bit of that, and I went through this weird phase where I would try every single game possible. Like if I could get it, I'd try and play it. You know, like I'd say my favourite game of all time is probably Skyrim. I love Skyrim.
Yeah.
Probably I'd say that's my favourite. But, you know, recently, because I've been obviously busy and I've had everything going on, it's kind of more of the route, you know, the GTAs, the Fortnites, the CODs, and
Yeah, classics. Yeah.
yeah, kind of that route at the minute. But you know, I'd love to kind of start, you know, getting more into, you know, more of like the kind of fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't played like things like that for ages, but because obviously I used to love Skyrim, and you know, I love Skyrim so much. I'd love to kind of look into some new things like that. Maybe I like zombie games as well.
Oh, nice. I've just started playing. I've just started playing The Last of Us, the original.
Oh yeah.
It scares the living hell out of me every time the zombies come out. You know what I mean?
See, I used to be like the biggest Walking Dead fan.
Yeah.
Like ridiculous. I used to go to all the like the conventions and stuff, and so I love things with zombies. I love a zombie film.
Did you ever play the Telltale series for The Walking Dead?
I did, but do you know what? I wasn't the biggest fan.
Right.
Do you know? I did really like Dead Rising though. Love Dead Rising.
Yeah. I remember playing, because I played the Telltale Batman game, and then also the Telltale Wolf Among Us, and I remember thinking that, you know, it was going to be as good as that, but you know, nothing beats the Batman Telltale series for me. That was incredible.
Yeah, I was a bit gutted really about the Walking Dead one, but because I went to the conventions, like they had a few of the people there they were actually obviously the voices of them. They kind of the people that were there, and I kind of spoke to them about stuff, and they loved it. They said they enjoyed doing it so much as well.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
So are we going to see then? Are we going to see Are you going to do walkthroughs? Are you going to do play? You know, are you going to do like Fortnite streams, stuff like that? Is that what you're talking about? Are you going to be doing?
Yeah, so I absolutely love Fortnite. Like, I have so much fun on it, and you know, I could play it for hours if I could. So, kind of going forward, I'm looking to maybe do, you know, some Fortnite stream. I was even considering, you know, doing some, you know, the old WWE games as well.
Yes.
Kind of go down that route a little bit, because you know there are some good WWE games out there.
Absolutely. I mean, I still play. My podcast partner on Gimme A Hull Yeah scolds me, but I still play the 2K games. I still think they're all right, but a lot of people hate them now.
I'd say the 2007 one's my favourite.
Yeah. Oh, that was classic. Yeah. There's a guy on our channel. He did an interview a few months ago, and he's remastering a lot of the old "Here Comes the Pain" stuff. He's a YouTuber, Scott J1, and my podcast partner Anthony did an interview with him about the remastering of the games and stuff. He was on the team. He was on the development team of those games, and he's remaking.
So cool.
Yeah, check that stuff out. It's awesome. I look forward to seeing how you develop in the future. So it's pretty exciting time for you. Before we finish, last question is, how do you define success? Because a lot of young people might look at you and they'll be like, oh, you know, I want to be a wrestling YouTuber, or even I want to be a broadcaster. And they look at your success or somebody else and think, I'm never going to get there. You know, some people have mental health issues, so they struggle with anxiety, or they struggle with confidence, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
You know, how do you define success, and what does it mean to you? What does success mean to you?
I think for me, I'm kind of someone that has never wanted to settle, and I've always been someone that wants the best for myself, and you know, it doesn't matter like about the money wise or anything like that. It's enjoying it, and as long as you enjoy doing it, then you'll go far, because you're passionate and you want to do it. For me, that's kind of, you know, if I didn't, you know, enjoy what I kind of do, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't put myself through the pain and the effort of it. But, you know, going forward, I want to obviously become as successful as possible. You just got to work, you know, work as hard as possible. I would love to work a little bit harder, just to don't want to obviously burn myself out too much. And don't burn yourself out either, because I've done it. I've been there and I've done that, and it's not pretty. But yeah, kind of like success wise, you just got to keep working and keep doing what you enjoy. And yeah, just be passionate about it, really.
Fantastic. That's a really, really good message for people. And thank you ever so much for your time today. I'm looking forward to hopefully working with you again and chatting with you again at some point.
Thank you very much for having me.